Hello and welcome back to the first in a three-part or possibly four-part tutorial. So I have decided to do my niece's nails today, and I videoed it in separate parts and I've left it in real time to show you how I work, how long it takes me, etc. So we're going in with prep first of all. So this is a full video, it's all at this view, and it does every step one by one. So Katie Lee is my niece. She hasn't had nails on for a few weeks, mainly because she used to go to one of the nail bars. She had some weakness in her nails from where they've sandbanded her nails. So I have done her nails before, and she has had some problems with them breaking. So what you need to remember, when someone's been there and they come to you, it can take 4 or 5 months for the whole of that nail to grow out. So if you start doing the nails and you find that their nails are breaking quite easily at the stress point, etc., it doesn't always have to be your fault. It could be that their nails are weaker. So Katie Lee had her last set on. She's given them some time to grow out. They're much better. So she's come today. We're going to start off with a brand new set. So first of all, sanitize her hands, sanitize your hands, key. Secondly, cuticle pusher. You need a good one, and you need to make sure that you are using that cuticle pusher on the whole nail, not just that cuticle. You can see that I'm covering the majority of that nail from one end to the other, because that cuticle grows down that nail, and if you don't remove it, it will lift. So I use the cuticle pusher first. This is how fast I'm working. I'm not being aggressive here, but look at all of the dead skin that's coming off of that nail. So you need to make sure you're getting all them cuticles in those little wells at the side, and just get all of that off there. I apologise, my phone is going off quite well. I've got notifications coming in, but yeah, so using that just to get all of that cuticle off. I'm just going to mute my notifications a second. Okay, let's do that. Sorry, but I just know that if I don't do it, it's just going to keep going off. So yeah, just covering that whole nail bed area, and you can see how much is coming off. How much of that would you have missed? So I'm just making sure that I cover every inch. Now you can see, can you see those little dimples across her nail, those lines? That's where her nails have been sandbanded. You can use a sanding band on a natural nail if it's on a low speed and if you know what you're doing. I don't. It's something I'd like to do, but I don't because I'm not confident to do it yet. So I prefer to use a hand file. So once I've done that cuticle, I come in with my hand file, and you can see hardly any pressure. I'm skipping over that nail, and I'm coming in from different angles. I'm making sure that every inch, well, not inch because they're not inches, but every little bit of that nail has been etched, and it's lightly etched. I'm using a 180 grit file to do this. And if you do see any areas, so if you can see right on the end of that finger, you can see I'm putting it there, little pink bit, that's where her nail's thinner. So you don't want to over etch that, but you need to bear in mind that that may be an issue. For me, it's right on the end of the nail. The tip is going to go on there anyway because we're using tips today, so I'm not too concerned. I don't want to overfile that because it'll be awkward. So using my file there to get into that corner, use the shape of the file you've got. Use that corner edge to get in there. So just skipping, you can see it's light. You know, I'm not aggressively filing. You just want no shiny on that nail. You want it to look nicely etched. You want to just lightly scratch it so there's no pressure. You're not going really fast. You are just making sure that you cover every little tiny bit of that natural nail. Now I'm usually tidying up the free edge as I go as well. So it's very light. We're just making sure that we haven't got anything. So doing it this way also helps. Okay, now bear in mind, if you etch the nail like this and then you touch that nail bed after you've done it, you're putting oil back onto that nail. That's going to cause you a problem as well. So you need to try and avoid doing that. You are going to dehydrate, so that won't be an issue. But you do need to make sure that you don't, you know, because there's oil on your nails. So that's what you're watching out for. So I'd obviously stopped to talk. I told you I hadn't edited this at all. And I haven't. I've literally zoomed in a bit so you can see what I'm doing. I haven't took any time out. I haven't sped it up. This is all real time. So you might think, you're looking at the video and you're thinking that's 13 minutes. 13 minutes on one hand. Yes, it is. Absolutely. But do you know what? Those nails will stay on. Now, if you're a worker and you're one of these people, you get your head down and you crack on, you'll be absolutely fine. For me, my clients like the fact that they spend a couple of hours with me. They like the fact that I take this care and attention when I'm prepping, because they know that I'm caring about their natural health. And if you do it this way, you will not damage their nails. So very lightly, just scoring. You know, it's not hard. So I do this bit first before I come in with my cuticle bit, because it removes the majority of that bigger stuff. Now, doing Katie Lee's cuticles, she did have some areas where it was non-living tissue. It was white, but because I'm not confident nipping cuticles off, I wasn't going to bother. You know, it didn't affect the finished photo, so it wasn't worrying me. She had a tiny little bit of a hangnail on one nail, which I did nip off, but it was clearly barely hanging on. So you can see, and I'm going in different directions. I'm cross hatching. That will help your acrylic stay on better. So we're now 7.5 minutes in. Not a tip in sight, no acrylic in sight. It is pure prep. So I did explain to Katie Lee when she came today that I was going to use her as my videoing guinea pig. So using my toothbrush just to get off the excess. And I do this a couple of times while I'm working. So then I come in with that skittle bit. So what the skittle bit does is it just lifts that cuticle away from the nail, and it just removes anything that's still left on that plate. And you will be surprised how much gets left behind, even when you've prepped as thoroughly as I have. How many of you would have done probably less than what I've done already, and that was it. You know, look at all that still all coming off. I will say I am e-file trained. I e-file trained over a year ago, so I am qualified to use an e-file. I do know what I'm doing. I do advise that you get e-file trained, because you can cause a lot of damage if you don't know what you're doing. So please don't buy one and then just go ahead and use it. You've got to know what you're doing. So I actually went in there and turned it up slightly, because it was running on about a 2, I think. So I turned it up to about a 3 or a 4. My e-file goes up to 30, so it's on a very low speed. But you can see how well it's getting that stuff off. Paying as much attention to one side as the other to make sure I don't miss anything. And just running it around, just removing that excess. It's amazing how much comes off, isn't it? So just cleaning that area up, and then we go on to the thumb. Now you usually find that when you're applying your acrylic, you know, you always want to try and get it as close to the cuticle as you possibly can. If you hadn't have done this bit, that acrylic that you'd put close to that cuticle would actually be sitting on that skin, and what happens is acrylic doesn't stick to skin, does it? So it will just pull, it will just, you know, lift. And believe me, I do still have trouble with lifting sometimes. So I'm not sitting here and never having a problem. It does happen. So brushed it off with my toothbrush again. And I'm now switching, I believe, to my cuticle ball bit. So this cuticle ball bit is gentle enough to go over skin. So I just use it to try and remove as much of that cuticle as I can, because I don't want to nip it off. So very gentle. It's on speed 3, 4 maybe, nothing more than that. Can you see that little shiny bit there? So that's because on those little tips she still has some finish nail. So I was pointing it out because I'm going to go back with my hand file and just etch over again. But lightly. We don't want to be going through too many layers of that skin. We do this on all 5 nails. So my best advice would be, if you don't have an e-file, prep, then prep again, repeat it. So there you go, it's just, we're just running around that cuticle on the skin and it's just pushing. See, still getting stuff come off. So just getting the rest of that off, and once we are done with that, again, brush it off with my toothbrush, and then I wipe over with acetone. This removes any dust, makes sure there's no oil. But I think I'll go back. When I wipe them, what I'm looking for is you wipe them over with acetone. If they go nice and chalky, you know they're etched, you know that they're ready. If you'll see in a second, if you've got any shiny patches left, go back. So on this, I saw straight away you've got those 2, so you do need to be careful. The nail's quite thin here, so it is just etching gently like that. Wipe them over again, and we're ready to go on to tip application. So that video's coming next. Thank you very much for watching. Hope this is helpful, and I will see you all soon.